All right, welcome back to Statement Games Live. My name is Nathan. I'm here with Mark, and my first question is, how are the New York Rangers doing, Mark?
That's what we're going with. That's what we're leading off with right
We're
off the bat
leading
here.
right off the
You know I'm
bat.
not feeling well. You know I'm not necessarily happy, and this is the first question that we want to pluck off of the potential show notes for today's show. No, I'm pissed. I'm
Yeah.
not feeling good. I am not kind of happy at all. I was looking forward to that New York Islanders New York Rangers game last night taking place at Madison Square Garden. Rangers had basically rattled off, what was it, six of 7 games, completely working their way back into playoff contention for the upcoming NHL playoffs. You're playing your big, rival. You got 2 games. You had a game with them last night. You'll actually be playing the Islanders again tomorrow on Saturday. 5 points behind them. And hey, not to say that you're going to win both of them, but you had an opportunity where if you win 2 games in a row, you're 1 point behind them with literally a couple of games to play to close out the NHL season. So I was really looking forward to the possibility and to just really make the last couple of hockey games of the NHL season, which is my favorite sport, just more interesting. You had a big awards ceremony that takes place every single year with the Rangers. It's either the last game of the season or one of the last is that even a word? One of
Mm.
the final games, home games of the half of the season. It's a pretty prestigious kind of an award that they give to the individual on the team that puts forth the most effort over the
Mhm.
course of the season. It's called the Stephen McDonough Award. Nice award ceremony, in my opinion, a nice build up to that hockey game taking place on Thursday night. I know it was competing with the NHL draft. Actually, not really. I mean, there was maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of overlap by the time that game ended,
Yeah.
and when the NFL draft started. But I was excited. I was completely pumped for a hockey game, and the Rangers came out to completely shit the bed. I mean, I don't mind losing, but losing 4-0 in such an important game to one of your, or actually to your biggest rival in the sport, it's just not a fun circumstance. So I was definitely a little off this morning. I went to bed extremely angry last night. I guess I wasn't really sure what the hell the Giants actually did in that draft last night either. I understand they got a couple of extra picks here, but whatever, completely different story for a different day. We'll probably cover it on an upcoming show of making picks. But no, not a good past couple of hours for me. So no,
Hmm.
I'm not feeling good, and no, I'm not okay.
Yep. Yep. Well,
That's what's up.
it's important to know how the CEO of the this this game is feeling, and while this is more the business end of making picks,
Yeah,
it's good
probably
to
took the
or
things
of
out on some
statement
writers,
games.
some blog writers this morning, and may have
Hmm.
ruffled a few feathers. But
Yeah, we're gonna
do I
we're gonna
feel
get you
bad
off
about it?
tilt.
Not really. I mean, the Rangers didn't feel
Mm.
too bad about making me feel like crap for the majority of today. So eye for an eye. That's the way I
Yeah,
look at it.
yeah. So let's move into some more topics behind the veil of statement games here real quick, because you're starting the day off already pissed because of the Rangers. It moves right into there was a little hiccup in the NFL draft scoring. Do you want to go
Yeah,
into
right. I mean,
what
could
happened
things?
there? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there was a moron on the operation side of things that hit the wrong button and caused a little bit of a glitch here and there.
Hmm.
We
So
fixed it. Yep.
was that just like isolated topics? Was there something, because one of the things I noticed is as the game was going on, there were certain topics that were like, or as the draft was happening, I saw topics being marked red or blue. Was that part of like like real-time scoring?
We're practicing a little bit. So yeah, I mean, if you did see that, you can actually see some of the things that are coming online. I mean, look, those guys, especially Nick, they do such kind of like, a good job with all that stuff. Mistakes kind of happen, and of
Mhm.
course, from a long-term stability perspective, these are some of the things that we're trying to build out and add in the form of features to the platform moving forward. We're doing a bunch of different things, and it doesn't
Mhm.
happen frequently, but every once in a while, there's a scoring hiccup that pops up. We have the capabilities and the wherewithal to go ahead and correct them when they do kind of pop up. I don't care what gaming platform that you're referring to, whether it's Statement Games or FanDuel, DraftKings. I mean, those happen, or these things have happened with some of the biggest players within the industry, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're no different. And look, we're in the process of getting better.
So a little more information as far as, is this feature an automated thing that's coming in? Like, so you're getting the automated feed and that's what's making the changes? Or do you have a guy right now that's hitting the button like, yeah, this is, this happened and this didn't happen?
In terms of right now,
Yeah, yeah, just as far as looking at this NFL draft game and future, real-time scoring. I'm just curious as to if this is an automated real-time scoring, or if you're playing with one of your guys that are handling.
it's a combination of the two.
Okay, that's, I mean, that's awesome
So
that that's coming, and how that will play
yeah,
into
some of the
actual.
picks are very easy to score, and in some of the cases, it's actually done automatically. In other scenarios, there's literally some people on the back end of things that are grading stuff just like a math test would be graded by your 10th grade math teacher.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more of the NFL draft tournament later, but this part, I do want to get into some of the previous topics that we've been covering over the past few weeks here on Statement Games Live. One of them is KiwiTech and the status on that project. And if you want to just kind of to recap, that there had been a problem with the NBA scoring tournaments, if I recall, a generation of generating tournaments, and that you're kind of keeping everyone updated on what was going on there.
Yeah, sure. So the problems that we're actually having, just so that we're clear, were taking place within our QA environment. It was never anything that was published on the main production
Mhm.
platform of StatementGames.com or any of the platforms that the apps were tapping into as well. So it's been kind of like a process in getting those tactics or strategies ironed out and fixed. And a couple of weeks ago, the project had actually kind of like stalled. So we covered a lot of that stuff last week here. I don't want to go ahead and rehash things that have already been mentioned. I will drop the link from last week's show into the show notes as well if people kind of like want more details. With that said, we had a great conversation with them on Monday. The project is getting back on track, and it is kind of like making the progress that we're hoping to do so. The updated time frame on when that stuff is looking to be completed is around the May 11th, May 12th date range. So I'm hopeful that, let's see here, we're gonna have May, definitely a full month of June, and I do believe that if there is a game 7 of the NBA finals, I could be wrong, but I think it's kind of like around the 4th of July time
Mhm.
frame. So if everything gets corrected and implemented, although it's a good solid month behind schedule, which is just something completely different that I'm addressing offline with my team, because it's just not acceptable.
Mhm.
I understand that we've had problems with KiwiTech, but hey, look, I got to raise my hand as well. I mean, I got to figure out ways in which this stuff can be better managed. So that's kind of like on me. So I'm working with my guys to correct that. But even with the delays and the problems that we've been having, we've been getting great support from our partners over at Sports Radar. So they're fully on board and understanding of actually what's taking place and what's going on. And even a worst case scenario, it looks like we're going to have a good, let's just call it 2 months of testing this NBA feed out, correcting all the bugs and all that other fun stuff here. And any of the stuff that we do from the NBA will be transferable from a learning experience over to the same stuff that we, rinse and repeat with Major League Baseball as well as the upcoming NFL season.
Nice. Awesome. So it looks like it's
Some problems,
back.
but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Now, could I be singing a different tune next week if we do some things and I'll have to learn for a third time that the deployment date is going to be stretched out beyond the dates that I just referenced? Somebody better freaking get that, chin strap buttoned up pretty freaking tight here, because I'm coming out swinging.
Yeah, and today's not the day to mess with you after the Islanders and the
And for
Giants
the
there.
Yeah, and if people who have been kind of like on the YouTube, and look, if you actually think that guy, Jake Paul, can crack pretty hard through his YouTube boxing, whatever he's doing here,
Yeah.
come feel the wrath of Mr. Salino when
Ooh.
budgets are being freaking kind of like blown and projects aren't being delivered on time here. Daniel Cormier, Jake Paul, you better freaking you'll have better luck putting the National fucking Guard in front of me and stopping the tornado, which is about to come if things don't get turned around
Yeah.
for the better.
So this project seems to be somewhat back on the rails. Are there any other projects that might be coming off the rails? You might be moving away from. Anything you want to go into there?
Still kind of like on the fence, although I will go ahead and say that 75% sure as of today. It could be because of everything that's actually been going on, and it could be because of the exact mood that I'm in. 75% sure that I probably will not be giving KiwiTech another shot, if you want to
Okay.
go ahead and say that. As part of the architecture project that we've kind of like talked about and discussed as well, that actually ties in with this as well. I recently kind of find out that even with the NBA gaming automation, all that stuff kind of corrected, if it actually tried to deploy as is without making the API updates from Angular, I think we're at 8, we're upgrading to 11. All these different little things here from a technical perspective affect the stability of the platform, which is one of the core reasons as to why we've had those crashes a few kind of weeks back. So that kind of going to need to take place here. And then with that in mind, as part of the architecture project, I can actually see that there's some messaging notification APIs that need to be updated as well. And I also can actually see that they will stop kind of firing in about a week and a half if that API isn't updated. And if you take a look at the May 11th, May 12th kind of deadline of when things would be fixed and redeployed into the environment, and then you still need some testing and things like that here. I'm just not sure if we're going to be ready from a development perspective to have those things updated and firing. So I'm looking at it if some of the messaging, when I say messaging, I'm talking about the in-app messaging as well as the web push messaging. Those types of messaging kind of popping up here. If it looks like if those APIs can't be updated in time, which it's just not going to happen, I'm probably going to pause that stuff. So there could be a situation in where some of the scoring notifications, some of the hey, come back and play notifications, we haven't seen you in 30 days, or some of the notifications around you've gotten 1,000 coins, go ahead and exchange that for your gift card. Those types of things that happen automatically within the system. I think, like, let's see, the other ones that are pretty popular, like it's the first of the month or it's the
Right. Or
15th of the
halfway through.
month, we're
Yeah.
halfway through of it. Those things might kind of be paused. And depending on what we're developing over here, I might be moving on from another platform, or for the very least, at least pausing it for a period of time. Because as we talked about, I just believe that the real-time scoring notification is something that's a priority of the
Yeah.
organization, and that really has to be the focus of what we're doing here to get people or to give people the opportunity to play more games around the teams that they want to go ahead and root for, as opposed to making sure that the 15th of the month notification is kind of going out.
Yeah. How successful are those notifications
Does that
on
make sense?
recapturing?
To be honest with you, there's probably about like 60 automated campaigns, or let me rephrase that. About 60 automated one-off campaigns, as well as a combination of what we call kind of journeys. You've probably
Mhm.
seen them in the Statement Games platform, and where it might actually start off with an email. A certain period of time will elapse, and where then you'll actually get some type of notification on your phone. And if that doesn't kind of tickle your fancy over here, some additional time will pass, and you might actually see a similar message pop up on your computer. So depending on the campaign, and depending on the event, some of them have worked, some of them
Mhm.
are, I'd say, a little old, a little stagnant. A lot of those campaigns were initially set up close to about a year and a half ago now, and they
Okay.
haven't been touched since. So they definitely need updating. And if you would have asked me the same question maybe a year ago, I would say, yeah, I'm seeing a really good results. So it's not the technology, it's not the process, but more of the content as to why
Mhm.
I actually think some of this stuff has dropped off. But then again, I can actually make the argument that people will come back if you had the ability to play every single Yankee game or Red Sox game or whatever your favorite team is, as opposed to keeping an eye out to see if those games are nationally televised, and then even if so, here having some type of bell go off in the back of your head that, hey, my favorite team is playing on ESPN tonight or whatever, or CBS or the NHL network over here. Let me now go ahead and put my picks in on Statement Games. I mean, our loyal users are loyal. They'll play every single
Yeah.
game, every single day. But for that type of demographic here, I don't think it's the notifications that we're sending it out automatically that are really bringing them back if they do come back. I think it's big event driven. Super Bowl, Game Sevens.
Mhm.
You don't need a reminder that, hey, this is exciting. The situation that I went through yesterday. I mean, we had the game up. I was
Yep.
playing. I was I was pumped. I was excited for that hockey game or that event.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, as you're describing that, like, I feel like the casual fan isn't going to be thinking about their team when their schedule national televised game is, and then clicking into, oh, let me go try statement games. I think it's gonna be, and what you might, I'm, I'm sure we're both hoping is when you have all those games there, like me as a Lions fan, I'll just know every week I'm in the
Every week.
Lions tournament, and
Correct.
it becomes more of a habit, and like, hey, I'm playing this, rather than me thinking, because, like, to be honest, I never really connected the two, and I work for you, as far as like, oh, hey, the Lions are nationally televised, their game is going to be up on statement games. I just, kind of, I mean, mainly it was, because IDP guys sponsored the Sunday night game. I knew if the Lions played Sunday night, I get to play them on statement games, where, hopefully this season it'll just be, I'm in every Lions tournament and I'm going to win them all, because I'm going to bet the under on everything.
I mean, look. I mean, the other thing that works is, when people have enough credits or clout within the platform where you can actually exchange it. So we do say we give you a notification. Look, exchange your hard-earned coins for some cash now. But if I have to fucking beg you to go cash
Yeah,
out your stuff, I mean, you're playing a free game, you're winning
right.
free coins, and now I have to notify you or beg you to go take more of my money. No, I'm not. I'm not worried or too concerned about that. About
Yeah.
those types of campaigns taking a little bit of a break for the time being.
hmm And you'll also get a chance to reevaluate as for which is the successful and which one maybe you can move on from, because you'll have numbers with and numbers without. But uh
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, moving
That's actually a
forward,
good question. That's an interesting
yeah.
point. I mean, I know what the numbers are, but I'm wondering. officially, if everything is kind of like, paused, even if it's for like a week or two,
Mhm.
what that does to retention. I would bet that it's not going to have that big of an effect at all.
Yeah, and that's something that you'll notice. I notice it with my platform, and also, sometimes you get into such a groove going down, whatever rabbit hole of development that it's a year and 6 months, and you realize, hey, this thing over here that I did, back then needs just another coat of paint, and that's just part of. It's kind of like a dance or a game of what's that, the groundhog popping up and you have to
The
whack-a-mole.
whack-a-mole.
Yeah, it's a little bit of whack-a-mole sometimes. But talking about groundhogs and that kind of stuff, let's talk PGA Tour. um
Okay.
what is kind of the new news on that? We've been following this. They were one of the first um groups and hype to take on statement games or to pick statement games. You've had a couple calls with them. Anything new come about?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's because I'm in a foul mood today, but in some of the more recent communications that I've had with them, a question had come up, and now it's come up for a second time. So I'm not sure if I'm just reading kind of like, too much into it, or if it's something that I need to kind of like, be concerned with. But
Mhm.
basically, a member of the PGA Tour is asking me if I have any type of licensing rights to, I guess, run the game that we're running. Does that kind of make sense? The golf game that we're kind of running on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
To which my reply is, I don't need any type of licensing rights to run the game. What I'm actually doing, I am a publisher. I'm
Mhm.
basically presenting statistical information. I'm just doing it in the format of a game. Now, on the flip side of that, here, if I was actually utilizing PGA Tour logos, which I am not, if I was utilizing player
Yeah.
kind of headshots or anything that's infringing on the licensing rights of that media company, I can actually see their point. So I guess my concern is, and I'm probably overreacting, I'm probably looking into it too much here. It's not like this question hasn't come up before in other environments, whether it be investor calls or just other kind of like, business 101 development, kind of like, initial kind of like exploratory calls or kind of like, meetings. But I am wondering, are these, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and I'm just, trying to protect myself as well as the organization as much as possible. And I don't think that this is the case, but the seed is being planted and growing in my mind is, are
So
these guys
you've
having continuing conversations with us because they're exploring the legality of statement games, and are they trying to potentially prevent me from doing what I do on a daily basis?
Mhm. That seems backwards to me. If they had a
In what
problem
way?
with with your program or your platform, why would they pick you? You know,
Correct. Again,
the other
I'm
thing.
I'm just thinking about worst case scenarios because I'm in a fucking foul mood today. Is what
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking. But again,
yeah,
it's a thought. I mean, these are some of the things that I think about as a business owner.
yeah.
And if it was
Well,
something that was once and it was addressed, which I feel it was addressed, but now it's come up for a second time, and I'm just
mhm,
wondering what the intent or the motivation behind the question actually is.
yeah. That's it's interesting, especially you've had conversations with NFL teams based on your platform. And
I've
if you
had
want to
legal
talk about.
conversations. I spent the first year, I mean,
Mhm,
going kind of like way back when. I left the corporate space in October of 2016.
yeah,
And again, this is obviously a couple of years ago, but statement games didn't deploy until almost like a year and a couple of months, kind of like, later. So in that first year, I spent extensive kind of like, time on the legality of what I was looking to create or go ahead and kind of like, do, and
mhm,
consequences around patent infringements and licensing rights of various different kind of stakeholders, what the consequences were. And when you go through that process, I actually had drafted what they call letters of opinion, basically
Mm.
from qualified legal resources, basically giving their opinion on the legality of your business. These were one of the things that I fleshed out extensively, and
Yeah.
it was true then. I still feel that it's like true now. Look, I mean, you can't just take people's logos and put it on your
Yeah.
digital properties
Absolutely.
and use this stuff. And I think you have some experience in this genre
Yeah.
as well. But that's why when you play statement games, you actually can kind of see it's Saquon Barkley or player A over or under. Their words. I'm not utilizing league or team assets in the form of logos. I'm not using player headshots. I mean, this is all done with the intentions of not pissing anybody off or infringing on anybody's legal rights. And I will
Yeah.
look. I'm a small guy, but if people think that I'm gonna take potentially harming news, I don't even want to go there. But anyway, laying down,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen, at all.
Yeah. I think it just seems weird to bring up from their perspective
Right? It's just
because
weird. It's just weird. And you've
also
actually even had conversations with me that when you're creating like blog articles and things like that, try and use Getty images or basically take the image that you want, but see if you can actually find it in the form of somebody else's tweet and put that kind of into
right.
the blog article. Things like that we kind of do. Now, if there's a blog article that we've done, I don't know, in a past tournament or something like that, and we happen to use a PGA Tour logo in one of the images, yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and take it out here. But in terms of doing what we're doing on a daily basis, we're not infringing on anybody's legal
Yeah.
rights, nor do we, want to or intend to or whatever. I think on this point here, I am very well aware of the law and how we operate accordingly from that.
Yeah, and I would say that as for the licensing question, that really would pertain most to the direct business of the game that you're playing. That is something that people are coming in. It is commercial. It is, there's some balances to being a publisher at that point, but for the most part, you've got a product, people are utilizing it. On the blog side, that's being a publisher in its outright. While you are a for-profit company, um, there you still have some rights within fair use and journalistic integrity of being able to use some of these things just to push forward knowledge and information. Because from the blog, while you do have certain ads that come into statement games itself to push your product, most of that is just hey, this game is happening and
Correct.
here's information about it,
Here's the
so
game that's
I
happening. This is
think,
where you can watch it. I mean,
yeah,
I'm promoting their event.
right. And so it'd be very difficult for them to come and say that you're infringing on anything in that perspective. And really, when you're having direct conversations with the PGA and you're looking at building a platform for them, why not then just if they're concerned about licensing, why don't they just license it to you as part of the program that they picked you to
Correct.
be part of, and
And
then you don't have
let's
to worry
hope
about
that's
anything.
the and that I mean to be fair, that type of stuff has kind of come off. It's basically kind of a pass through, in where if there is data or there's a certain kind of licensing kind of rights that need to be passed over to me so that we can operate a little bit more efficiently on behalf of the PJ. I mean, we'll go ahead and address it and do it. But
Yeah.
look, I'm not pirating. It's not like I am taking PGA Tour logos and things like that, sticking them on T-shirts and selling them and basically saying that I have the right to do so.
Yeah.
That's not the case. I'm
Well,
running a free
copyright
to play game.
infringement
Yeah, yeah.
is when you try and convince that you are them. You're not trying to say that you are the PGA, the
No,
PGA Tour.
not
You're
at
not
all.
perpetuating anything, of impersonation. So, yeah, I mean it's interesting. So you've got that. Has anything else progressed as far as the proposal, the pilot itself?
Which is kind of strange because I guess one of the contexts that I'm saying is that that they really, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. put the cart before the horse, so to speak, but which is why the dialogue was so strange, because the feedback that I'm getting on the proposal and how we planned on structuring a pilot has been well received. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
That is,
it's just again, I think I'm just in a foul mood today, but it's
you're coming out swinging today.
yeah, I
That's what
guess so.
happens in the sports world, especially when you're the business of the sports world. Like,
Yeah, we'll see. So, I
yeah,
don't think it's going to be that much longer. I think we will, get some type of indication on how and when we can, like, move forward, soon. So, I guess to be
okay,
determined, but
yeah,
whatever.
all right, yeah. So why don't we let's talk a little more draft. Maybe not so much like our opinions on the picks and how badly the Giants reached in that first round pick, but so the NFL draft as the tournament on statement games um, is different than your normal tournaments.
Correct.
And usually you're based around a game, that sort of event. This was quite different and had a lot of lead up with a lot of information that you would know beforehand. um, how is this, could you go into a little bit about how this is set up different, the architecture of it, um, and what sets it apart?
Yeah, sure. So it's an event. So that is no different from any other kind of game that's being run kind of on the platform. It's just that with this style of an event, there's no kind of like defined winner or losers. It's all kind of like subjective kind of like stuff. So
Mhm.
it's not like at the end of this event here, Team A has a score and kind of like Team B has a score, and all of the associated statements underneath it are kind of playing off of that main kind of like theme. So it's different in the sense that from an event perspective, there's nobody's getting a win, nobody's getting a loss in the win or loss kind of column, from a sporting event kind of perspective. It is still the same here, and where people are making predictions or looking at things, um, in just like a little bit of a different environment. So you're getting 10 points for your 10 pick, that becomes correct. You're only getting 1 point for your number one pick, that becomes correct. But it's not like a football game, a hockey game, or a baseball game, or anything like that that's taking place. It's based off of a draft. So there was a couple of weeks of build up leading into the 2021 NFL draft. We created a tournament like that, and we just kind of had a little bit of fun with it. So things like that, things like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, things like the over under wins total tournaments, they're just different. They're different games.
Mhm.
They're different kind of contests. The format is still the same. It still has the look and feel of everything else, but because it is different, it generates like a little bit more buzz. There's a little bit more interest in it, and as a result, traffic figures were up.
Nice, that's good, it's very good.
So hopefully that
um,
helps. I'm not sure if I explained that properly, but it's just a different game, and I think it also kind of shows how you could still engage an NFL audience outside of the peak NFL season. I mean, there's no NFL
right.
games that are being played right now,
Mhm.
but still, we demonstrated an ability to bring that crowd back into the platform, even though it was just for a short 2.5 week period.
Mhm.
I mean, we published that
Yeah,
game about 2.5 weeks ago. It was the main
yeah.
featured event on the platform for a while.
That's interesting in the fact that, like, there's a lot of information and analysis that's out there that goes into this, and there's people putting out, rankings and everything about their big boards and all of that information that you're able to build these contests around. It's almost like expanding upon what you could offer in the sense of, like, I mean, the NFL draft, I would say, is probably the most televised and most, like, excitable draft. I don't hear too much about the MLB draft, the NBA draft, in this sense of, like, what the NBA draft, isn't it usually the first 3 picks are the only ones that really matter?
We'll do something similar, or we have done something similar, and we'll continue to do something like the form of the NFL draft. So I would say the NBA is most likely. to follow or to generate as much of a, not as much of a buzz, but similar buzz to like the NFL draft kind of
Mhm.
tournament. I mean, with baseball, I mean, you're kind of like, picking players. A lot of these guys are kind of like, overseas. A lot of these guys kind of like in high school. It's not like, people are locked into these different forms of baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
even college baseball is completely different from, you know, college basketball. Same
Right.
thing can actually be said from a hockey kind of perspective. A lot of the people who go into the draft are coming over from Europe. I mean, how many European junior hockey games is the casual fan collector watching over here in the U.S.? So because there's not like a lot of marketability around those
Mhm.
types of sports here, the drafts just aren't as big.
Yeah.
So with college football and college basketball, I mean those two platforms do a great job in marketing the players that are eventually evolving into the professional leagues.
Yeah. So speaking of how, there's different forms of these tournaments, different forms of these games that you put together. What how many statements in general do you need to be able to create on your end to be able to make one of these games happen? So like if you were to take out the sporting event, but like any sort of topic,
Mhm.
if you were to say like, hey, let's do something on this, what qualifies it to be enough to be a game?
I mean, we always try and aim for about like 50 to 60 statements. In this particular or in other scenarios that might be like a little unique here, we have actually gone down to as low as 40. So I would say 40. You got to give people the ability to pick 10.
Yeah.
There, in most particular cases, has to be a contrast to the one that they're actually picking,
Mhm.
and those outcomes have to have some type of realistic chance of becoming correct or incorrect.
Gotcha. All right. That's interesting. Um, and that I'm sure opens you up, especially as you see the success of the NFL draft tournaments of keeping um, your eye open for other opportunities along those lines. But speaking of opportunities, we made picks for this,
Mhm.
and you put up a goose egg in our making picks episode. How does that, in your mind,
All combines to the foul mood. This is all part of these are
it's just
all
piling
variables
on.
that have gone into this the equation of Friday, April the 30th.
Yeah, yeah. And what's great with making picks, and if the people that are watching this have been following it, the beginning of the year, I was doing bad, and Mark was shoveling it on. You know,
Mhm.
every chance he got, every week,
Yeah,
he
I was
was making
dominating
great picks.
from the beginning of the game.
He
Yeah.
was doing, above 60% picking at one point, and I was in the 30s, the low 30s. And now it seems to have flipped. How do you see this as affecting the branding and the content creation of making picks in the overall um, business of it? Do you think that this delegitimizes it? Are you delegitimizing statement games based off the fact that you can't play your game correctly? This is where I get fired.
I mean, fucking asshole. You son of a bitch. All right, so this is the way you kind of you got to look at it. I mean, it's not good, but from a kind of like a business perspective here, we're trying to go ahead and create content that gets people kind of like interested in the game. So it hurts it from a perspective and where when, let's, for all intents and purposes, the star of the show is going on this little making pick show, but for the past, I don't know what, 3 4 episodes, can't freaking hit the broadside of a barn with a pick. It's not good. I mean, I think a lot of people understand that it's all kind of like in good fun here, and let's be honest here. I mean, we're doing kind of like what we can here, but it's not like we're you know, um, putting this show out in front of a couple of 100,000 kind of like people, but for the same purpose here, you're trying to put together a piece of content that's engaging, entertaining, and kind of like captures a little bit of the moment. And we are asking people to subscribe and to come back to that show on a weekly basis. And when you're putting out advice or guidance that completely sucks, it hurts. It hurts, the efforts of what you're trying to accomplish from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. Well, I would say from a marketing perspective, the result doesn't matter. I don't think the result matters as much as you put into it. I think that we do enough. Really, the shtick is what keeps them coming back is our bickering, is our back and forth of like, I'm better than you, you're better than me. We're average Joes. We don't try and be anything.
Well, maybe you are. I mean,
above.
I'm supposed to be a superstar. But...
Right, exactly.
Well, at least that's how I view it in my own mind. But
sure, yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff going on, but it's becoming annoying. Is what I'm, I guess, trying to make. I mean, just mathematically, it's basically statistically impossible to go. I literally think it might be 2 for 9 or 2 for 12 or something. I have to go back and look here, but it's something like that. Mathematically, you're talking about almost like coin flip situations here.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think that these games are rigged. To be honest with you,
if they were rigged, wouldn't you be winning?
That's no, rigged on the part of the professional events that are taking place here. I think the sports world is against me.
They've been listening to the show.
They've been listening to my picks, and then stacking the deck against me. That's the only logical explanation that I have for the situation or the predicament that I'm in with regards to making picks.
Yeah. But from a business perspective, and especially a marketing perspective, putting out that content, us going through the game and how to put it together, regardless of what our picks actually are, I think is very valuable to your business, and bringing in people to say, hey, this is how easy it is to play, and watch Mark, because that's how easy it is to lose. But speaking of winners, which might not necessarily be the greatest for you, but you had a couple 10 for 10s in the NFL draft game.
We did.
Usually you pay out some cash for that.
Correct.
Are you paying out cash for these guys?
No, fuck them. They're not getting nothing. I mean, we made it perfectly clear within the show that if you went for 10 and you actually liked the video, dropped a comment in the comment section with maybe a little bit of your username as well as your top pick for that tournament, you would have won. So I mean, look, I gave you the scratch off.
Yep.
There were certain kind of conditions of the contest.
If you don't play, you can't win.
Correct.
Yeah. There it is.
The instructions are clear, right? I mean, and I'm not wrong on this.
Yep. And you said it in the video, so obviously they're not watching the video.
Correct.
So they gotta watch the video, man.
Or maybe again, it could be just another example of a few individuals and where they're just doing so fucking phenomenally in life that they just don't need an extra $150. So I don't know. God bless them. Must be nice being them.
Yeah. So speaking of another tournament that is closer to an event, maybe a little sport, more traditional, Kentucky Derby is tomorrow, or maybe it's today, depending on when you're watching this. But it is on Saturday the 1st. What are you gonna be?
Well, it's always the first.
That game?
It's always the first Saturday of May.
Yeah,
it is something that I like running. It's something that I look forward to kind of running. To be completely kind of open, I won't be running the Kentucky Derby event for tomorrow. Although we're so far apart on NBA stuff from an automation perspective in a lot of different ways, we are really close And although the 10th of May seems like it's an extended, period of time away, it's really kind of right around the corner. So I didn't want to distract members of the team in empowering a game that, let's face it, it's not like we run horse racing events on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Moving forward, or strategically from the business perspective, we will be doing a lot of NBA stuff. So I haven't ignored it. I do want to get to more of those things over here, but I think it's one of those things here. Let's get the core of what we do down really, really, really well, as opposing to kind of
Yeah.
satisfy like a little bit of a niche and potentially pushing this target date of May 11th, 12th, 10th, 11th, 12th, kind of out even further by not having people focused on doing what they're doing. So for this year, I'm going to skip the Kentucky Derby. I haven't made up my mind on whether we'll be running the Preakness of the Belmont Stakes. We'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see what happens.
Yep. Gotcha. And finally, let's wrap it up here. Do you have any other special offers for our listeners?
No, not as of right now. Here, I'm not offering anything special until the Rangers win another game against the Islanders.
There it is. There it is. So
So
talk to
they
Mark.
gotta follow us on social media. Follow me. It's simply at Mark Salino. And please, people, the people who spell my name with a K, it says it kind of like right there in the
Yep.
lower left hand, kind of like in a corner. So it's at MARC and then my last name. Also follow Statement Games. I'll probably put some things out early tomorrow morning with regards to I don't know, maybe if I don't know, it could be as simple as if the Rangers eventually, finally score a goal or more than 2 goals in a game against the Islanders, I might look to kind of give away a prize. But I'm not doing anything until I see those very basic core kind of action points to be taking place first.
Yeah. There it is. So if you are an Islanders fan, definitely hit up Mark and give him a little
Yeah.
grief, and that will be your special offer right there. But make
There you
sure
go.
you're following at Statement Games on all social media platforms. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel Statement Games Inc. and always make sure you are playing the game on the web version, statementgames.com, as well as your mobile device. Mark, it was a pleasure. I hope that the Rangers make you feel better soon.